What's going on, people? It's your boy Travis, Horror Movies Uncut. Welcome back to the Submissions and Slashers podcast. We're rolling on Tuesday, November 21st, rolling into Wednesday, the 22nd. Skanksgiving for some people out there. I know how y'all get down. It is Thanksgiving week, people. I want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And as always, I want to say thank you for being a loyal reader of the Horror Movies Uncut website and, of course, the Submissions and Slashers podcast, as we are rounding up season number 3, rolling into season number 4 as we get into the holiday season with episode number 42. So first and foremost, we gotta let you know what you need to know on the show for today. I'm gonna try my hardest to make sure I do at least 2 of these a week. I know I always give these promises, then I disappear for like 6 months. It's just kind of how it is sometimes, man. I really wish I could give you guys some legit excuses, but I just get distracted. I get on other projects, I think I'm so busy keeping the day-to-day stuff of the website and my other businesses like Valkyrie Fitness going, that when you get to this moment where you're just like, man, just go sit down and talk to your audience and let them know what's going on, you just don't always have the strength to do it, man. I talk to a lot of people all day long. It's kind of what I do for a living. So enough with the bullshit excuses, though. Follow us everywhere at HMUNCUT. That's Horror Movies Uncut. Find us. You will get us on any platform from TikTok to... But we're out on Snapchat. Now, we still haven't got on Snapchat for Horror Movies Uncut. I still don't see a reason for us to be on Snapchat. But we are on TikTok. Of course, we're on X and on Facebook and Instagram as well. Okay, so I'll try my hardest not to turn to the side all the time, but I'm trying to figure out some different stuff for the recording so I can keep this all in a line, make this look good for you guys. But plain and simple, just giving you guys the news you need to know. That's the whole purpose of Submissions and Slashers podcast. So let's jump in with what's on today's show. Right, on today's show, we have a review for the film Lord of Misrule. It's a nice little folk horror film coming from the director of the film The Boy. Also Orphan's second film, if you got a chance to see Orphan's First Kill. Film we talked about on Submissions and Slashers last year as it was getting ready to hit Paramount Plus for the holiday season. There's a new vampire film, SVALTA, that's coming out. We're going to talk about that. There's another vampire film called Don't Suck. Founders Day. We got some updates about Founders Day. It's been a minute since we've talked about that film. It was kind of nice to finally see an update. It's been almost about 1.5 years since we heard anything from that film. Everyone Will Burn's got some news coming out. And then there's 2 more films that we got a little information on at the end of last week. Imaginary and The Cello. Okay, Imaginary is that film that's supposed to be like the next Chucky, the next Megan, and it's involving a teddy bear. And the teddy bear's name is Chauncey. So be ready for Chauncey, fellas. So that's what we got on today's show. Of course, as I mentioned, please follow us. Please like and subscribe on wherever you are watching or listening to Submissions and Slashers. Of course, we're going to be popping this up on the YouTube page. This is also going to be on the website for Horror Movies Uncut at HMUNCUT. And as always, you can find us on the original home for Submissions and Slashers. That be Spotify. Videos on Spotify, but pretty much anywhere where you get your podcasts, you can find Submissions and Slashers. Just search sub and slash. You'll find it. Looking for us online, of course, at HMUNCUT, Human Cut. That's where you find us online. All right. So, got all that stuff out of the way. First thing we're going to jump into is a little review for the film Lord of Misrule. Okay, so Lord of Misrule is the new film that's coming out on Magnet Releasing. I had the opportunity to watch this film a couple weeks ago. Kind of been checking it out a couple more times as the time goes on, as we get closer to the release. This film's going to be coming out on Magnet December 8th, and it is the latest film from filmmaker William Brent Bell. If that name sounds familiar to you, he is the director of the films The Devil Inside. You might know him even more popular for his film The Boy, which was a huge hit. And then the recent incarnation of the Orphan franchise, which is Orphan First Kill, which was a direct to Paramount Plus film that came out. So you kind of got an understanding of what type of director William Brent Bell is with films like that. One of the things that I mentioned in the review when it comes out next week, which that review will be out. Well, actually, no, I take that back. It's going to be out the day of the release, which is December 8th, that Friday. Um, it's a film that I think William had a chance to show a lot of range with, primarily because it is a folk horror, and I'll be the first person to say that I am, in a sense, kind of getting bored with the folk horror, and not necessarily against anyone in particular. It's just that the whole overall idea of folk horror is starting to kind of just move me in a different way. I think films like The Witch, um, within the last couple years, did a great job of actually taking folk horror and adding more layers and substance to it. If you want to know kind of, I guess, what would be considered an American folk horror film, think of your Children of the Corns, American Gothics, like the TV show. Um, Gothic, a lot of Gothic undertones, but more that Southern Gothic is what you'll find, or like what I like to call farmland Gothic is what you'll find. That's kind of what I call when it's a folky, American folky film. I like to call it farmland horror because it just, it's just something different when you watch what I like to consider kind of the king or queen, whatever you want to, identify it as. It is it. The film The Wicker Man, I feel like would be probably one of the best representations of a folk horror film. Now, you got film like look, all these new horror film fans like, what about Midsummer? What about I know they're out there. I know. Okay. I'm not discounting any of those guys, and yes, they do fall into the realm. So you got an idea of what a folk horror film is. So let's talk a little bit more about The Lord of Misrule. So The Lord of Misrule, first and foremost, female minister in the town, her and her family, and they are uh, going to be participating in the big festival of the town, which the town pays homage to this ancient deity. And the daughter of the minister and her husband has been chosen to be like the little angel in the film. Now, I'm curious to where Tom DeVille, the writer, got this because, I mean, it seems like it's legit straight out of some like folk film. Or I'm sorry, from some like uh, folk tale that you would have read growing up. And I wish I had a little bit more time to do some research because I got a feeling I could probably find it. Because that's how authentic the tale sounds. And I'm sure there's some reviews out there with Bell and possibly even the writer himself, Tom DeVille, where they kind of give a little bit more background into it. But I mean, it is seriously, people, like your dark fantasy, little backwoods town, everybody dressed in outfits that it's the village, you know what I mean? It's like these people are still in some, you know, time warp where probably they don't run into a lot of women ministers. You don't run into a lot of them, period. So kudos for them for having that in the film because that was the first thing that kind of pushed me away. I was like, oh, wow, okay, in this little town. Um, but it was almost kind of like a punch in the face with the whole overall story because in Lord of Misrule, the young lady ends up missing. And of course, the way that the town brings it is that this character who is kind of like the jester is the one who takes these kids away, and it's a whole gift. and a blessing for the town. And I mean, it's cult shit, people. It's like I said, it is your typical run of the mill white people running around naked in woods. You know what I'm saying? And for a lot of people, they're just kind of over it. But for a lot of people, they're thinking, hey, I can kind of deal with films like these. And they really like folk films. So if you are a fan of folk films and you want to see something that is visually beautiful, if you want to see something that is amazing in regards to the storyline, and then the main characters in the film all do a fantastic job, but I definitely want to point out uh, one Mr. Ralph Ineson, who just kind of pretty much steals the movie the minute his presence is in there. He plays the father of a kid where his son has been missing before too. So it's a solid movie. We gave it a 2.5 out of 5 stars, which of course, three stars is kind of our definitely make sure you see it. 2.5 is one of those films where we're kind of like, we can definitely see that there's an audience for the film, but not necessarily sure how much they'll like it, but definitely worth it checking out if you are a fan of folk horror. So don't you go anywhere. We're going to come back. We got some news to jump into. We're going to talk about some of the films that should be on your radar. And this is the Submissions and Slashers podcast. You know where to find us. Hit all those subscribe buttons. Get your prescriptions. And we'll be right back. So we're going to jump into some of the news that you need to know. We got a lot of vampire stuff going on. First and foremost, let's talk about a new horror film that's just wrapped up. Wayward Entertainment, XYZ Films is behind this. SVALTA, the spelled SVALTA, for everyone that is like, what the hell is Travis saying? We cannot understand that accent. This film stars Nick Frost, Aisling Bey, Sebastian Croft, and Maze Ayers, and I 100% apologize. Anybody who I am destroying that with, okay? So pretty much you guys know Frost, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, Sebastian Croft, How to Date Billy Walsh, Heartstopper, and then you got these newcomers that are in the film. So pretty much what happens is, and I made a mistake. I completely got this confused with something else. This is kind of like a vacation horror film, if you may. The film was written by Nick Frost, and it follows a family on their summer vacation to a remote island where they discover a serial killer is on the loose. And unfortunately for them, locals have no interest in helping the stranded family. And the title is taken from the name of this fictional island. So that's what you have in store with SVALTA. Hopefully, I mean, with Nick Frost in there, it's definitely going to be a lot of comedy, I'm sure, involved in it. I got a feeling that gore is probably going to be involved in it with him being in there. Even a movie like Hot Fuzz had a couple gore scenes in there. I remember was it the steeple or whatever that fell off of the building and landed on the person? Why do I know all this stuff? I have no idea. Anyway, moving on to the vampire movie, and it is also a comedy. And look, people, just kind of get into this habit where there's going to be a lot of comedies, like a lot of comedies, a lot of dark comedies, a lot of just straight up horror comedies, all types coming up. And it makes sense too, because the climate of the world is very serious right now. And you normally will find usually one of the most violent forms of media out there, which is horror film, will be the first one to start picking, poking, prodding, making jokes and stuff like that. So don't be surprised that a lot of these films are kind of horror comedy related. Okay. Don't suck though. Super excited to see the return of Mr. Jamie Kennedy. You know what I'm saying? To the horror movie world. What's up, fam? Been a minute. He is playing in the film as a comic, kind of, not too far off from who he really is, but he's playing as a comic who's been out on the road trying to find a new killer opening act. He finds this guy named Ethan who is a struggling comic, but he's kind of killing it and doing it his thing. And come to find out, of course, Homeboy's a vampire. And, what can I say from there? From what it sounds like, from the synopsis and what we shared on the trailer the other day, I mean, it just kind of seems like a little buddy comedy flick that happens to involve vampires and comedy. So, I don't know. I'm gonna check it out. Hopefully, there's gonna be a lot of laughs in there. The vampire side of it, I don't really know, you know, how far I'm gonna take it, but I think if it's entertaining, the biggest thing is hopefully it doesn't suck, right? That's kind of, I mean, I'm not to, play on the words, but hey, um, we got some news about a film that we talked about a while ago. The Bloomquist brothers, 10 Minutes to Midnight, is a film that you would know from them. A film they had been working on called Founders Day, which was like a slasher flick. You know, it's kind of funny that we got Thanksgiving coming up this week. Eli Roth's new Thanksgiving, which I'll be giving some thoughts on later this week on this next episode 43. Um, it's funny that you got these guys with the coming out with these what I like to call, I guess, holiday horrors, of course, because that's what they are called. But Founders Day, like, like, do we celebrate anything on Founders Day? Uh, but they got a horror film on the way. So and this is why horror is like I always tell people, horror in regards to movies, horror is the grandpa on the front porch of every other film sitting up there saying, "Don't you make me come down there. Don't make me come down there because I'm gonna turn whatever you are into a horror film the minute you kill two people in there." Right? So anyway, Founders Day hit the festival circuit. I don't even know what was going on with it in the festival circuit. I had been in like fucking 6 festivals in the last. That's why you ain't even seen me in like the last 5 to 6 months. Uh, so I have no idea what festivals this was playing in, but I'm sure. I got a feeling it probably would have been more of last year's festivals. But they got a great cast in this. They got some people from NICS. William Russ is in this film. Kathleen Curtin's in this. So you got a cast of some people that are relatively familiar. And they posted a new teaser. We put that out. It was only a couple seconds. Dark Sky picked up the film, which we're not completely surprised by. We love Dark Sky. So happy Dark Sky is really starting to become like that true, like grounded, independent genre film holder. So anytime you see that name, you know that you're gonna at least get something worth watching. Um, but yeah, they got it picked up for Distro. Won some awards last year's Toronto After Dark. London Fright Fest, Popcorn Frights. I mean, I covered all of those. I don't remember seeing it in there. But hey, maybe they were just, I was not attending any of those last year, so they might have been films that you had to actually be there. Regardless, that does not matter. I'm excited to see Founders Day. I've been waiting on this film for a minute. It's playing at AMC theaters. The teaser is so like there's possibility if you're at an AMC movie theater right now and you're watching a teaser for a new film that's coming out, you might get a chance to see it. Um, it marks the reunion of 13 Reasons Why duo Devin Druid and Amy Hargraves. I never watched that, but I know a lot of people watch that show on Netflix. So wait, people are like, what the hell is this about? So pretty much it's about a small town that leading up to the like election day, like a mayor's campaign, there's like a serial killer that's on the loose. And the serial killer's wearing like some old school founding fathers type like outfits, like big revolutionary outfits with the white wigs and stuff like that. You know, first time I saw the initial photos, I was like, oh man, we got like a little Purge meets You know what I'm saying? Some other type of slasher involving old white men from Congress from a long time ago. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm excited for Founders Day. I'm looking forward to that. You know, always outside of monster movies, you know, my number one movies are always slasher films. So looking forward to it. Everyone Will Burn. Speaking of a film that was killing it in festival circuits, um, is gonna finally get its love, and that's actually going to be coming up in less than 2 weeks. Draft House Films is going to be putting this out in theaters. I haven't checked to see if Alamo is going to be showing it, but I would hope Alamo is showing it. I did not get a chance to see Everyone Will Burn. I actually have a copy of it that I need to watch. More than likely going to try to watch that sometime here soon so I can get a review out. There's tons of reviews out about it. It's really was talked about during the festival circuit as one of the most incredible films that was going around at the time. So you definitely want to make sure you check it out. I got a feeling that it might reach some people's honorable mention lists for some films of the year to look forward to if you in case you missed them types of films. David Hebrero. I don't know, man. Y'all got last names, bro. My last name is Brown, fam. You know what I'm saying? Like I try. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so the film's about a woman who is prepared to pretty much end her life. When she's getting ready to do that, there's this young girl, possibly, that kind of approaches her, comes up with this kind of like deal. Um, and supposedly the the town sees this young lady and what she's doing as what has allowed this entity to resurface. So they're kind of blaming her for everything. But man, I'm telling you, it's definitely something that I think you want to keep an eye out for. It's gonna be it. I guarantee you, Netflix, Hulu, whoever gets this on the back end of the Draft House Films VOD run, it will be a film that a lot of people are gonna run up to, be like, "Oh my God, did you see this?" Um, so yeah, definitely Everyone Will Burn. Last but not least, Imaginary. Imaginary is the latest film coming from the team behind or Blumhouse's team. So you got, you know, the guys behind Megan. You got, uh, let's see, who's directing this film? Now, it's not going to be out until March, so we got some time on this, folks. But the news did come out earlier this week, so I want to make sure you guys knew about it. Jeff Wadlow, that's who's doing the film. Lionsgate, Tower of Babel, they're all kind of combined on this with Bloomhouse. I don't know, man. It's creepy. It's creepy looking. The trailer was creepy. Chauncey is about, you know, it's about a little girl who moves into a house. There's like an old teddy bear in the house. She's got an imaginary friend. The teddy bear becomes the imaginary friend, starting to talk to her. And then it becomes like this whole lore of imaginary friends, and if it's really the case, or is it possibly like some demon or something that is actually talking to our kids or talking to us in these vulnerable and innocent moments in our lives, and those are really the imaginary friends. So it's got a lot of I like a lot of the dynamics about it. Like one of the things horror movies have always done is they've taken things from our childhood and made them terrifying, and we kind of gotten away from that. I think the Babadook was the first thing to kind of re-bring that back, and now you're starting to see a lot more. And honestly, I mean, fuck, man, like that's actually disrespectful. Annabelle and all those guys based off of The Conjuring, you know, you and even what we were talking about earlier with the boy, you're with Brent Bell, William Brent Bell's film. You will always find these creepy ass films that people are just like, I can't, you know, I can't do no clowns, I can't do no dolls, right? Um, Not often do you hear people say, I can't do no teddy bears. So I'm curious to see if Chauncey changes. Imaginary is the name of that one. And that's going to be what people are going to talk about. Like I said, it's it's not necessarily probably going to be with the backing of Megan in films of that vein. Uh, we know The Godfather's Chucky, but I can see Imaginary having some legs. I know there's another Megan on the way. There's a couple of them. So I wouldn't be surprised if Imaginary can find some legs. And anytime you have a true character, you best believe there's going to be more than one film. Okay? All right. Last but not least, the cello. The cello actually looks pretty good. Now, the cello is not an American film per se. Destiny Media is going to be releasing this film. The film stars Samir Ismail and a lot of people from the Middle East. I'm sorry, man. I'm not about to butcher these people's names. Uh, but it comes out December 8th, so it's coming out pretty soon. And it's kind of falling under the radar, but I got a feeling it's actually not a terrible looking film. Supernatural film out of Saudi Arabia. Darren Lynn Bossman, you guys know him, right? Saw Films, original director. He's reunited with Tobin Bell is in this film. Jeffrey Irons is in this film. And yeah, it's interesting, man. When I first, oh, sorry, Jeremy Irons, not Jeffrey Irons, Jeremy Irons. When I first started reading all the descriptions about the film, I was like, why isn't this more of a bigger release with names like that? But then I'm like, oh no, this is truly a Saudi Arabia film. And they paid a whole bunch of money to have them dudes up in that film. And Darren Lynn Bousman probably got paid a lot of money to make that film too. And I'm not mad, fam. And honestly, it does not look like a bad movie. The film's about a cello. It's about a musician who is from that area, and he's very, very talented, but feels like he's being limited because he does not have the instrument to take him to the next level. His cello is very old. The dude does like the old school. What is it? Johnson, the crossroad divide when you make the deal with the demon, so that you get everything you want. You know what I'm saying? Like he gets he gets a new cello. He goes into a mysterious shop, gets a new cello from a mysterious shop owner. The cello kind of brings about this weird composer, which is who Jeremy Irons plays in the film. And yeah, man, after that, it seems like it's it's all like mysterious and dark from there, you know. But it's called the cello, so more than likely it probably makes them play like insane. I mean, you know the drill, people. It's a material possession that has a little bit more going on than meets the eye. And unfortunately, I'm sure there's probably some tune he starts playing and all types of shit starts popping. So we'll have to see what goes on from there. But yeah, the cello. All right. We're going to make a little break from here because we just went on a nice little tangent. When we get back, we're going to do a review for the film Raging Grace. And then we got a little weird news of the week to talk about as well as we get closer to wrapping up today's episode. Don't you go anywhere. Submissions and slashers, find us and hit all those buttons. Follow, like, everything. All right, folks. So remember, don't forget where to find us. As always, we are at the illustrious website known as Horror Movies Uncut. That's HMUNCUT.com. Those same letters is how you find us on all of our social media platforms with a little @ symbol in front of it if you need to. Instagram, X, Facebook, you know the drill. TikTok. Got to get back on the TikTok. I know it's been a minute. We have not posted any reviews for a while on the TikTok. Like I said, I'm trying to rework some stuff to make it just flow a little bit better. Had a lot of stuff just bouncing on top of each other and not getting anything done. So I'm trying to streamline this stuff. So hopefully by the new year, things will be looking a little bit more concise and a little bit more back to what we were seeing about this time last year. But brother got lazy, not gonna lie. Just too busy trying to figure out other stuff in life. You know what I mean? All right. So, of course, that's where you need to find us. And that's where you will find the review for the next film that we're going to talk about, which is going to be released courtesy of Brainstorm Media and Doppelganger Releasing. That is A Raging Grace. This film actually is going to be hitting theaters December 1st. So it's another one of those first week of December films on demand for everybody to see December 8th. I'm going to let people know right off the bat, I really, really enjoyed Raging Grace. The film is about a young lady who is an undocumented Filipino immigrant. She's doing every single thing she can to support her family and which is her small daughter. She takes a job as a caretaker in a house of some very, very weird circumstances. And like all of us who are poor, who have had to bring our kids into the workplace, even though we don't want to. And I actually got in trouble for that. I actually got fired for that, not gonna lie. Um, it's one of the hardest choices that you have to make, but just babysitting and that world of daycare and all the expenses and stuff like that is just not feasible for everybody, especially for someone who's coming into the country as this young lady is. Now, you get a big sense of entitlement in Raging Grace because that's kind of what you're seeing. Is you're seeing this young woman who's pretty much busting her ass just to make ends meet, doing every single thing she can to provide for her and her daughter. And they're in this house, this immaculate house, taking care of this pretty much comatose elderly man, while what we're finding is his niece is the one that's taking ownership of the estate, kind of telling Joy, which is the name of the mom, what to do. And it's kind of, one of those things where you kind of feel for Joy and you feel for Grace, which is a young lady, because she's just a girl. She's just a young girl. She's just curious, running around the house, messing with everything she can. Um, but unfortunately, she finds out that there's something sinister going on with the relationship between the niece and the elderly man in the bed. And once she notifies her mom about that, that starts to unlock a lot of secrets, starts to open up a lot of doors on what's really going on, not only within the walls of that house, but kind of within the whole entire well being and mental well being, really, of Joy, the mother. Raging Grace is a very, very delightful horror film to watch because the young lady that plays Grace in the film, I believe, is that Jadena Bodia? I believe she got a name on her. Yeah. She is giggly and she loves to play. There she is. Oh, she's a UK girl. All right. So she's a Southeast Asian young lady, but she was born in Barking, England, in the UK. Okay. I'm sure she has a thick accent. So anyway, the young lady who plays Grace, I mean, it, she, of course, it's just completely takes you on a ride in the film. I loved every single moment of her in the movie. And then her interactions with the older gentleman in the film are great. But what really gets you in Raging Grace is when you kind of start to see the entitlement and the sinister, you know, um, side of everything going on. It's the best way to sum up what you're finding out a lot about the film in Raging Grace is sometimes stones are put in front of caves for a reason, right? There's all types of things that are similar to that, right? Sometimes there's a padlock on that door for a reason. Sometimes there's latches on the other side of that door for a reason. Raging Grace is one of those films that really digs deep into kind of like what we see in society so much, that disconnection between entitlement and the people who are actually keeping people alive and helping people and things like that. So um, it's going to be one of the better movies to end the year. So we uh, I can't unfortunately give you my rating yet, because actually, you know what? I did Lord of Misrule, so I'm gonna we gave this a 3, so just one step above. I'm about to say, no, I'm gonna go ahead and give it to you because you guys might not even hear this by the time you see the film. So 3 out of 5. So we definitely like Raging Grace a little bit more than Lord of the Misrule or Lord of Misrule. That's gonna for sure be the pick out of the 2 for us this week, and we definitely need you to check it out, man. Um, we're gonna pop out, pop back in, talk about some big budget action thriller stuff you need to be paying attention to, give some indie shout outs, and then talk about what the hell is streaming this week and next week. And then we'll close it all up. Talk about what we got going on next week. Submissions and Slash Podcast, episode 42, bitch. We back. Find us, subscribe to us, like us, follow us and shit. Okay? We'll be right back. Don't go nowhere. I told y'all I'll be back, man. I just need to do it. You know what I'm saying? Welcome back to the Submissions and Slashers podcast, episode number 42, sub and slash at hmuncut.com. We are currently looking for sponsors for the return of Submissions and Slashers. If I get a sponsor, I can keep this shit going, man. Shit. You know what I'm saying? Always sponsored by the lovely Valkyrie Fitness St. Louis, though. That's your boy's other fam. And for the fight game people that have been loyal listeners to Sub and Slash for a minute, got big news out there. The Bellator purchase, PFL, now owns Bellator, so we'll be very, very curious to see how that goes. But let's talk about a little news of the weird. All right, news of the weird. So last week, Australian police charged a woman murdering 3 in an alleged mushroom poisoning. So supposedly this woman in Australia, she made, I guess, like a soup or something with some cat mushrooms that she knew was poisonous, and she fed them to some people and they died. If you go on NPR, you can find this. There's once I get more savvy, I'll start posting links and stuff. Y'all ain't about to get all that right now, though. About to be honest, I ain't got no time. I still get FIFA 23 is out. I ain't got no time for that right now. But what I will say is that's a terrible way to go out, man. Um, you know, I feel like, though, when you die, the comedian Richard Pryor always said he want to go out like his daddy, which I think that was a Dick Gregory joke that he just kind of rehashed, which was pretty much being like, his daddy died fucking. I think he called it recycling, which is hilarious. And yeah, that'd be a great way to go out, right? But for me, I feel like if I can't die in that regards, you know, probably people would think the next best thing would be dying by eating. I'm I don't want to die either way, to be honest with you, because those are 2 things that I very, very much enjoy. Not that I want to die in some terrible, excruciating way. I mean, I'll go for the old school, just passing to sleep, be completely happy with that, right? But, um, man, to think you about to sit down, I got mushrooms in my refrigerator that I'm about to eat with some stuff here shortly. But to think you about to sit down and just get your grub on and you ready, you know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, all right, guys, that's no bueno, you know? So shame on you, young lady, for ruining a good mushroom soup. And mushroom soup is fire, too. Like, I don't know, like, definitely her mushroom soup's not fire, but mushroom soup is fire. So, shame on you for that, too. All right? So, we'll try to make sure we always have some little news of the weird that popped up from last week that we can find out there. There's a bunch of stuff too, but I just kind of grabbed that one because it's a little dark. It's a little, in the world of what we do. Okay. Monarch. Yo. Now, I know there's a lot of like, is there a superhero movie out right now? Probably. Marvel's. There's always a superhero movie out. And then there's probably another action film that's out. The Killer is dope. If you haven't seen The Killer, Netflix, Fassbender's new movie, it's pretty good. A little slow, especially at the end, but other than that, not bad. But I got so much love for action films that I want to make sure we're highlighting some because they're constantly getting missed. I have my own designs of my own action film festival. Looking for sponsor for that as well. But Apple Plus, man, when I saw the initial trailers for Monarch, I was like, they ain't making no Godzilla TV show. And then I went and read about it. I was like, they making a Godzilla TV show. Yay! And it's got all the kaijus. Very, very first episode had like the original Kamatas, which is like a bat kaiju. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm like watching the show in complete nerddom, fam. I want to go back and watch like everything now. And you talking about a kid who has watched every Godzilla movie, black and white, the goofy stuff from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, trash, into Shin Godzilla, all the other stuff. Got another Godzilla on the way. Godzilla's on my dresser back there on the pallet for I'll Crush Y'all. You know what I mean? Like it's this, there's only a couple people that get love in the realm of my household, right? Candyman, Blade, you know what I mean? Leather, Leatherface, look at me, right? There's only a couple guys and ghouls that get love in my household, so big fan of Godzilla. One of my all-time favorite heroes. I don't care what anybody says. He is a hero. She's a hero. I don't care what anybody says. But yeah, I love Godzilla. So this Monarch show, I mean, Kurt Russell in there, whoever, everybody that got in there is great. I love the fact that there's a huge influx of Japanese people in there. They're keeping it very much so with what the kaiju is, but then the glimpses of King Kong and all the other big monsters, the big spiders. Like, dude, I love it, man. I'm telling you, man, I'm the kid. I grew up when I was done basketball practice, all this stuff. You know me, man. I was at home watching USA Up All Night, any syndicated movies I could find, Cinemax, whatever. And when I was growing up, marathons was always the main thing. Godzilla marathons, King Kong marathons, Big Bug marathons. So super, super excited for that. A couple indie film shout outs. Abigail, Uncorked Entertainment was good. It's a little Revenge of Bully movie. Emmanuelle's Revenge, which I'm like, where's my screener at, fam? Like, out of all the screeners I'm waiting for, where's my Emmanuelle screener, fam? Right? So, Emmanuelle, similar to what I was talking about with Godzilla, very, very much important in my childhood. When people wonder why I'm the biggest fucking pervert that I can be and the biggest freak that I can be, it's because I grew up watching and enjoying one Miss Sylvia Christie who played Emmanuelle. And it was the closest thing to porn, but it was also kind of like a femme fatale thing, which is one of my favorite comics. I actually have like entire volume box sets of femme fatale that I need to get my ass back into reading. I don't be doing shit. I just be writing workouts, watching people fucking work out all the damn time. But it's Emmanuelle's Revenge updated. This is an updated new story of Emmanuelle. It's some BDSM involved into it. It's Italian, which is great because it keeps it in that whole kind of Euro. And supposedly it's a little feminist undertones in there. It's kind of like the more I spit on your grave, Emmanuelle, than but that's the thing. If you watch, Emmanuelle was always in charge. She was the one conducting the threesomes. She was the one, that had the lover. You know what I mean? So, um, yeah, hey, classics, right? That's what we all about these days. So, I can't wait to give you guys my thoughts and feedback on that. What the hell is streaming next week? What in the hell is streaming next week? So we already told you guys about some of the films that's coming out, and theaters and stuff like that. But in regards to streaming, The Bellkeeper, There's Something in the Barn, Monsters of California, A Creature Was Stirring, and we getting into the holiday stuff. Santa Isn't Real, The Sacrifice Game. Big shout out to Jen Wexler and crew. Fantastic movie. Make sure you see that December 8th. We'll be talking about that a little bit next week. Lord of Misrule and the Cello, two of the other films that we've been talking about. Okay? Next show, we'll be talking about TROPIC, which is a film I am in the midst of watching right now. Had to do a little pause on it. And then we'll be giving some updates, giving some Turkey Day updates as we touch into Thursday going into Friday. So that is going to wrap us up for this episode of the Submissions and Slashers podcast, episode number 42. Don't forget to follow us, like us, and hit all those subscribe buttons at HMUNCUT. You can also subscribe to the website, Horror Movies Uncut. Folks, we're going to try to start working on some stuff so I can start getting paid more for this shit, so I can do this shit for the rest of my life, because it's about that time that I do. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. See you guys on the next episode. We out.